Okay, so video 3. This is in regards to collection agencies, and I am on my website here, but I'm on my version of the website, so hold on one second, and we'll flip through to the actual website. Collection agencies, that's the reason we're getting the most traffic and the information you really need to know the first. So how to get the collection agencies to stop calling you. Have collection agencies been calling you? I'm going to show you how to stop for free. Okay, anyway, these are the letters. So the first thing you're going to have to do when you want a collection agency to stop calling you is send them a letter. And these are pre-done letters. What the letter does is it makes it illegal for them to call you. Right? So there's two ways you can do it. You can print out the letter that I've already done for you. These are all government versions of the letter. And then this is the way you can write it yourself. Attention, name of the collector agency. Please accept this letter as my official request that all further correspondence from your agency be by mail. I've copied this letter and I'm sending it to the provincial ministry as well. Please be advised, failing to comply with this letter is not only against the Collection Agency Act, but also grounds for a ministry complaint. I have sent the letter to the Send the letter registered so you have proof that it was received. I'd also like to receive a copy of the original signed contract and date of last payment. So the reason you want to ask them for the contract and the date of last payment, that determines whether this is already statute bar. What statute bar means is that it's now past the point where they can legally sue you. And as long as you send them the letter, there's really nothing else they can do. The only problem is the date, the amount of time that you have. It varies from province to province. So British Columbia gives you 6 years. So that's the last day you paid that bill. 6 years after that. Alberta is 2 years. Manitoba 6 years. New Brunswick 6 years. Newfoundland and Labrador 2 years. Then we've got Nunavut 6 years. Nova Scotia 6 years. Northwest Territories 6 years. Ontario is 2 years. And it came into effect 2004, so it kind of has a different meaning in case the debt's older than that. So PEI 6 years, and Quebec is 3 years. Remember, for Quebec, the only collection people that can call you if you live in Quebec has to be in Quebec. There's no outside collection agencies allowed in that province. So if you see any number other than a Quebec number, then you know that they're already breaking the law. Okay, so Yukon 6 years, and Saskatchewan is 2 years. So if you're lucky enough to live there, or Alberta, it's just 2 years, and Ontario 2 years. However, I'm going to give you a little trick here. If you set your address as somebody that lives in any of the provinces where the statute bar is lower, like let's say your parents live there, and you live there for most of your life or something, then changing your address will change the date and might make things fall off. It's not going to help you do anything while the debt's going on. Anyway, I'm just going to give a disclaimer there. We're not telling you to put an address that's not your address. We're just giving you what we think is a possibility. Okay, so federal debt, 6 years. The thing with federal debt is they after you for a lot longer than 6 years. And you're dealing with the government, so who are you going to complain to? Okay, so you can send a letter to the credit bureau, and it'll send you your credit report back. So the Equifax letter is there, and the TransUnion letter is there. And if there's anything wrong with your credit, so like let's say for example there's something with statute bar already that's on there, or something that's that you dispute, you're allowed to update that. So that's one of the things you want to do right away. If the collection agency is calling you, they're looking at your credit bureau, and the only way you're going to know most of what they know is if you pull on yourself. So Equifax Credit Bureau and TransUnion Credit Bureau. So you're going to send both of these. It's free. Everything you're doing here is free. The only thing you're going to pay for is postage, right? And when you're sending the do not call letter, it's a good idea to send it registered, just for the fact that you have some proof that they received it. However, if you're going to send that letter to them, you can also send a copy to the ministry. And if the ministry has the letter, that's also proof that you sent it, because you made 2 copies. But I would always send it registered. So that way you know, like the moment you got that delivery confirmation text message to you, they're not allowed to call you anymore. So they're breaking the law as soon as they do that. So the other thing we have to get into here, and this is the laws that they have to follow. They can't keep calling you, so if you hang up on them, they're supposed to stop. They're only supposed to really call you 3 times a week. Disclaimer again, it's different in every province, so you're going to have to look up. I have every province's rules put here and easily accessible. And you're just going to have to look if you want to find out everything in your area. What I'll probably end up doing is doing a video for each province, and that way you know exactly what the rules are in your province. But really what you want to remember, Quebec, nobody from outside of Quebec can call you. So, and Alberta and Saskatchewan has the 2-year statute bar, as well as Ontario, right? So, Manitoba there. And yeah, so, okay, let's say you send them the letter, and you got them to stop calling you, and it turns out that the debt is still valid. So like when you send the letter telling them not to call you, when you said I want the signed contract and date of last payment, that determines whether it's statute bar or not. And the really cool trick here is, if they've lost that information, which is very, very common, you want your original signed contract and the date of last payment. So if they can't come up with your contract, you have a dispute right there, right? And they can't hold you to the debt. You really just want to make sure that they can't, that they're not going to try and sue you, right? So this determines whether they can. There's if the debt's $3,000 or more, in most cases, we would, like when I used to work for them, we would sue. So 3 and up. If your debt's smaller than $3,000, you're probably not going to get sued. And the only way they can sue you, really, because this isn't, unless it's a federal debt, I'm going to again put a disclaimer there, unless it's a federal debt, they can't sue you unless they have the contract, right? And they can only sue you if they know where you work. And the thing that really bothers me is that most of the time they figure this information out. Either they're going to call your relatives, right, and they're going to start asking them, right? They have actual people that are tracers, and what tracers do is their whole job is to just sit there and call people, relatives, anything, any number they can come up with, and find people that they don't know where they are, right? So there's not only it's a crazy way the system works, but what you have to do is protect yourself. If they've already got your house number and they're not calling you at work, right? You're okay, kind of. You just want to make sure they don't know where you work, because they pretty much need that information before they're gonna do anything. And that's unless you own your house, right? Because if you own your house, they might, and it has to be worth it for them, right? So if they know you work and you own your house, then there's a situation there. But usually they're only gonna sue you if it's over $3,000. It's not statute barred, right? And when you ask them for the contract, if they can't come up with it, they can't sue you either. There's a lot of outs here. And generally, when you send them these do not call letters, what they're gonna do is they'll try and find you online somehow, right? Or they'll step up their skip efforts to try and find your work information, right? Or it'll just get put away somewhere where they don't know, right? So another thing, when you send them the letter and they send you something back, you can send that letter mail return. That means you've moved, and now they have no address, they have no phone number. You know what I mean? You're making it really, really hard for them to actually go ahead and sue somebody. They'd have to know where they work. They'd have to know for sure. Most of the time, it's somebody that owns their house and has a really good job, right? But you never know for sure. So these are the things you can do to protect yourself. Make sure there's no way for them to find out where you work, right? Call your relatives and tell them, hey, there's collection agencies. Like, you don't even have to tell them it's collection agencies. Just tell them if anybody calls, you don't know who I am or whatever, or I've left the country or whatever. Use whatever line, and they'll figure that they'll just close the file, right? Unless they don't know anything much about you. There's lots of ways you can get out of this, and yeah. So if they do end up suing you, you can go bankrupt, right? So I've gone through a lot of information on this one video, but let's just go back to basics. So collection agencies are calling you. First thing you're going to do is you're going to send them this letter. This letter is right here. It says they can't call you anymore. All further correspondence is by writing. Okay? The next thing you're going to do is check if that debt is statute bar or not. Right? And if you don't know, you're going to go and down here and you're going to send the Equifax request form and the TransUnion request form. Those two forms are going to get you your credit bureaus. So those two credit bureaus, right? So you'll have your credit bureau. You'll know exactly how old the debt is, when the last date of payment was. I have information about how to do everything on the site, but I'm just going to make it a little bit easier this way. That's all I really want to cover in this video. So if they're calling you, start by sending them the letter, check if the debt's valid. Eventually, if they do find that contract and they send it to you, and it turns out that it is valid, you just got to look at how many years it's been, right? And if you're not working, right, as long as they know you're not working, you have no money, right? If you end up talking to one of these people one time, just tell them you're broke, you have no money, you happen to get them on the phone. But once you send all this stuff, they can't call you anymore. So that just makes it almost impossible for them to do their job. Alright, thank you, and I'll